Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Sales Enablement Festival and also for taking the time to attend my presentation around measuring sales and sales metrics. My name is Felix, and I'm a sales professional with 15 plus years of experience and with a passion for enabling salespeople and for shaping better ways of working within and around B2B sales organization. In today's session, I will be sharing with you my thoughts on two things: the emerging role of sales enablement and the different perspective on how to look at and how to use the sales metrics. So you would definitely wonder why this quote. This is a quote from a legendary coach from a famous Netflix series called The Playbook. Some of you may have watched it. The playbook profiles legendary coaches as they share the rules they live by to achieve success in sports and in life. And as a sales enablement leader isn't really very different. It's like that soccer coach, not celebrated enough, but a core part of the business. Enablement as a function, as a team, has many roles. Uh, we need to coach sales teams like soccer players. We need to coach star players together with average players. We need to offer tactical guidance. In the same times, we need to be a strategic partner for the sales leadership. We need to support the sales strategy. We need to manage the management, if I can say, as usually sales leaders are looking for quick wins or quick fixes to achieve quotas, but in the same time, salespeople need time to develop and to change. We also need to offer support to our colleagues from product and segment marketing, so their efforts to be efficiently delivered to the sales team. In any organization, there are functions that enables the field force such as human resources, sales operations, marketing operations, product management. All of them are building enablement elements. While many teams contribute to enablement efforts, enablement professional can ensure consistency and effectiveness by orchestrating the efforts of multiple collaborators, by aligning all those enablement elements and orchestrating their delivery to the field so the sales reps can easily digest them. So to be effective in 2021, sales enablement must be seen as a strategic discipline that is set apart from other functions, regardless of their contribution to enablement. It must evolve to be a cross-functional role and to offer a cohesive experience inside the company. In this slide, I've included, in my opinion, the top 3 hurdles for sales enablement leaders. First, the perspective of enablement determines the value that the function can create for the company, as we typically deal with 2 types of projects. Strategical projects, meaning we design integrated program based on a sales enablement charter to create measurable outcomes. And tactical projects, meaning we fix what's broken by focusing on certain productivity drivers, by developing the answer and prescribing what sellers need to do. Secondly, it's quite difficult to associate a business win directly with the impact of sales enablement. It's just like it is difficult to measure the impact of a good coach in the soccer team's latest win. This will always be a challenge. And the third one, enabling who? Enabling to do what? Which roles, which channels, which regions will be served by the sales enablement function. So what should guide sales enablement leaders? In my opinion, buyer expectations should be the North Star. According to a recently study done by CSO Insights called Buyer preference study, the buyer said that they expect excellent communication skills across all channels, sellers to be well prepared. They expect to learn something new from them and to be provided with insights and perspectives that help them solve their challenges in the best possible way. So those expectations require sellers to evolve their selling skills and to better leverage defined selling methodologies and processes. But at first, let's see how sellers are perceived by executive buyers. 62% of the executive buyers think that sellers are very knowledgeable about their company and products. 24% of them think that sellers are knowledgeable about their specific business. Only 23% think that they can relate to their role and responsibility in the organization. 22% think that the sellers understand their issues and they see where they can help. Only 21% think sellers have relevant examples or case studies to share with them. So, enablement needs to take a strategic and holistic approach to help our salespeople be seen as trusted partners by enhancing their ability to be valuable. We talk about perspective selling, of course, to be relevant and differentiating for prospects and customers at all stages of the customer path and in every interaction. That's our job. I have picked some metrics, the classical close rate, cycle time, deal size, and that we can use those to determine whether we are meeting our buyer expectations. As I mentioned earlier, the buyer's expectation should be the North Star. And if we relate all the metrics to this North Star, we can improve and we can make our salespeople successful. But same metrics, different perspective. Typically, we use metrics and KPIs for clarity, for focus, for improvement, for engagement, for communication, and for learning. Well, on one side, sales leaders are using them for performance management, for taking action based on the results of the evaluation to ensure targets are achieved. But if we consider the results pyramid, you know, the one that has 4 layers, the first layer being the experiences, the second one being the beliefs, the third one being the actions, and the fourth one being the results. Then the sales leaders are working on the third one, on the actions. But even the newly agreed actions will be based also on the same beliefs. So, in my opinion, I think enablement should offer different experiences to the salespeople in order to change their beliefs that will lead to improved new actions. Also, sales leaders are usually focusing on typical lagging indicators, the ones that look back at past performance. But sales enablement should pay more attention to the leading indicators, to the ones that are forward-looking, as those being predictive will allow us for better decisions to address future events. Here, yes, the only challenge is being difficult to identify and capture results. But I can recommend what I use to tackle this: running a value flow analysis for each sales role, defining the inputs, outputs, and outcomes. But as Marshall Goldsmith said, what got us here, I don't think will get us there. So we have 2 ways to hit these metrics: the current way of working and the new way of working. While the current way of working is valuable and should be continued, the true enablement in 2021, I think, implies taking on a wider perspective. It should be informed by buyer insights and scale. In the next few slides, we will talk about each of the 3 metrics presented earlier and the 2 approaches to look at them and to solve them. The first one, closing rate. Poor closing rate means for some buyers, the expectations weren't met. So the goal is to improve close rate to achieve expectation. Let's take a look at some probable causes which usually arises after a diagnostics phase run by sales enablement. For example, because of poor conversations with wrong stakeholders, because the buyer doesn't see how product meets their needs, inability to justify the economic investment. So just three of some probable causes. Then typical actions will be around offering content, training, and coaching for salespeople to have better conversations with right stakeholders, to help them clearly connect how our product matches the buyer's goals, to help them better understand and articulate our differentiators. Of course, improving specific metrics with more or better training is one of the most efficient way to measure the training effectiveness, to prove the ROI of the training. Of course, when training is the solution or part of the solution. But what do you think? Is this enough? Is this the long-term solution? So I think in addition to the typical actions, we can take advantage of today's smart CRM's capabilities, which can reduce the cognitive load of our sales teams by guiding them with the right actions. For example, which leads to prioritize and what actions to take to crack a deal. This has shown to significantly improve sales productivity and empower them to do well. Keeping the buyer at the center implies talking to them as they would want us to do. What is the right message to send and what time? Let's take a look at the second one, the cycle time. The longer it takes, it means the expectations weren't met and we had to go back to the customer, back and again. So this increases the cycle time. Let's take a look at three of the most probable causes of having a longer cycle time. Misunderstanding of buyer decision-making process, poorly framing the success criteria for your buyer, failure to create a compelling future end state, and of course, to create a sense of urgency. So, typical actions, content, training, and coaching for salespeople to help them model customer decision-making process, to develop their ability to navigate clients' agreement network, and to help them create a compelling vision and sense of urgency. But again, let's take a quick look at the data-led possible actions. Enablement by all. Sales enablement should be a part of all roles in a business, just like customer experience is. Let's start with sales and marketing. Sales enablement should lead that alignment. However, an easy starting point is when both sales and marketing teams have the same buyer information. Today, we have different sources of truth and hence a huge variance in outcomes. It should not be a hit or miss approach. At least that's what I think. What if we all operate from one source of truth that captures all information and provides valuable insights? Buyer expectations at the center. How many times have we seen broken buyer experiences leading to failed deals? Lack of buyer insights, different teams armed with different buyers' data, wrong message during a certain buying stage. There are so many reasons. Again, the right technology and data is available today, so let's make use of it to easier our job. Feed insights. How often do we blame marketing to not be in touch with our buyers? A part of this problem is a lack of a common understanding of the buyer. What if the buyer themselves could let both sales and marketing what they like or dislike based on their past engagement? The third one, the deal size. Again, Probable causes: poor negotiation with the customer, agony-driven quarter-end discounting, yeah, full economic value not clearly established during the sales process, typical actions taken by sales enablement around offering more or better content, training, and coaching services for salespeople to improve their negotiation skills and reduce desperation to close deals each quarter, to help them elevate relationship to executives with larger wallets. But again, today we can use 360 buyer engagement data to get insights. For example, a sales rep before getting into a call with a prospect, getting into a discovery call, can use buyer engagement data from emails, from chatbot, to better understand the topics of interest, whether they consumed any marketing asset and which one. We can capture prospects' activity on our website to identify signals and right offer to sell. We can also predict current customers with a high probability to consume upsell offers. So how does 2021 look like for sales enablement leaders? I think sales enablement must reconnect with your company's customers and understand how their needs have changed, what is working now and what is not. Successful enablement efforts begin with an assessment of customer needs, and those needs just changed because, of course, the pandemic. Thank you everyone for attending this session. Looking forward to see you at the next one. Until then, happy measuring.
During the session, there were a couple of questions, and I want to thank you for those questions. Also, together with thanking you for taking the time to attend this session. I'm going to try and answer to those questions. The first question came from John, who has that accountability for deciding and keeping track of those metrics that are most important to focus on. John, that's a good question. Thank you. Who has the accountability for deciding the metrics? I think, in my opinion, it's the same ones that have accountability for achieving the targets, meaning the sales leadership. Usually, the sales leadership set up a strategy to achieve their targets, the so-called go-to-market strategy or go-to-customer strategy. So they, being the ones deciding the strategy to achieve their numbers, they will be the ones deciding how they're going to measure it along the time. Secondly, who's going to keep track of those metrics? It depends. In some companies, this task is being taken by sales operations. In other companies, it's taken by performance management team. Two different things. Hope I managed to answer to your question. The second question from Christine Walsh. I hope I'm pronouncing the correct. Would you say lagging indicators equals sales responsibility / leading indicators equals sales enablement responsibility? In my opinion, the lagging indicators, the one that are showing the result, the effect of some leading indicators, are usually used by the sales management during their performance management meetings. They look at those metrics, trying to change something in the actions, hoping that the next time the same lagging indicators will look differently. So that's what they look at. The leading indicators are very good for a sales enablement function because it shows you where the teams are going based on the actions that they do. It shows us where we can intervene and what we can do to change something. It's like in a soccer game, you know. The sales enablement needs to observe the match, needs to observe the game during the game and to make recommendations. Usually, sales managers are focusing on the lagging indicators at the end of the game. when the game was either won or lost, but there's nothing that they can change about that game. Probably for the next one, they can do something. Trying to see if there's any other question. I think there's one from Kalumburg. Let me try and read it. Linking training and coaching to success metric attainment is so important, but lots find it difficult. How do you directly attribute sales training and coaching to success metric attainment? Good question, Kalum. That seems a question around tactical projects. As mentioned during my presentation, us in sales enablement are taking care of two types of projects: the strategical projects, the one linked with the entire company, with the entire organization, with the entire sales force, and the ones called so-called tactical ones, improving a specific metric. So in my opinion, it's quite easy to attribute sales training and coaching if you refer to a specific metric. Then you have a metric in a certain stage, and then providing a piece of training or some coaching sessions for them, that metric should be improved. So it's quite easy to show how those services impacted that metric. But first you need to find the metric. That's what usually happens in companies that don't anchor their efforts to a specific metric. They just think something's not working well. We need more sales training. We need better coaching or something like that. But if we are smart enough to find the right metric within the sales process, what happened at what time of the sales process, then we can do something about it, and then we can take the credit for it. Callum, hope I understood your question and hope I answer it. Okay. Lyron, what are some of the major pitfalls you should avoid when using data to drive sales enablement activities? I think one of the major one is not having a set of balanced KPI. Sometimes we look at something from one perspective, from one area, but we don't spend enough time to look at the same thing from a different perspective, to have two different angles. And we just jump into it and we set up an activity. This is pretty much very related to diagnostic, understanding the situation, why that metric is there, what happened. The things that I usually do on a normal basis is, when I look at a metric, I don't instantly jump with solutions to improve it. I spend a couple of days, or better, a week. I do a workshop with the team, a virtual workshop, trying to understand what happened, what got us to that metric. Once you understand the reasons that influenced and because that are behind that metric, you will be able to find the right activities. Another question from Gautam. Apart from supporting the sales team with the right content and training, what sort of action can be included in sales enablement key risk? There's an acronym here. Gautam, maybe you can give me some details on your question, because honestly I don't get it. Apart from supporting the sales team with the right content and training, and there's a question mark. What sort of action can be included? I don't think I am the right person to give you an answer to that, and I'm going to tell you why. You know by now that sales enablement, it's quite a recently function. It appeared 5 or 6, 7 years ago. It continuously transforms. If you ask 10 companies, or if you take a look at 10 different job descriptions from 10 different companies, you will see that there's no common understanding. Each company has its own expectations regarding enablement. Some companies are looking at the sales enablement function just as a learning and development, but more specific to the sales team. Other companies are looking at this function as an orchestrator. And this, of course, this is the last one. The last one is the best one. So it depends. For example, I'm taking care of, as you see my title, I'm responsible not only for enablement, but also for productivity. And those are two different things. Enabling people means, yes, providing the right content and the right training for them to be able to move a prospect along the journey, along the process. Productivity is something different because it covers also the things that makes them more agile. More agile means much quicker, much better, more, and something, and everything that goes into this area, more and better. I think that was, yeah, that was the last question. Good, guys. Thank you very much.